Developmental language disorder as a multidimensional neurodevelopmental spectrum, implications for diagnosis, an Engage with DLD research summary. Click the microphone icon on each slide to hear an audio recording of the research summary. Key terms, words to know in this research. Developmental language disorder, or DLD, a common condition that affects speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Neurodevelopmental condition, a condition that affects brain development, with possible effects on language, motor, cognitive, and/or social behavioural areas. Neurodevelopmental conditions include DLD, ADHD, autism, and many others. Diagnosis, a decision-making process. When a speech-language professional diagnoses DLD, they have decided that the problems they observe are better categorized as DLD than some other category like typical development, dyslexia, or autism. Study background. Why was this study important? DLD is too often undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. Language problems are not always obvious, and other developmental difficulties, such as in speech, attention, like in ADHD, or motor skill, may hide DLD. Study aims. What were they trying to find out? This study aimed to create a thorough understanding of the dilemmas involved in the diagnosis of DLD. Methods. What did the research involve? The researchers conducted a careful review of the research literature to identify signs that define DLD and other neurodevelopmental conditions. They looked at what research exists on this topic. Results. What was found? DLD is a spectrum. A spectrum is a collection of strengths and weaknesses that define a given condition. The spectrum will look somewhat different for one person than for another. In the table are 5 hypothetical profiles. Some include problems with language, potential signs of DLD. Some include problems with executive function, potential signs of ADHD. By comparing the profiles, you'll see that not all people with DLD have the same language weaknesses. Sometimes, people with DLD have weaknesses that extend to executive function and potentially to other areas. Sometimes, a person with ADHD also has some weaknesses in language and potentially in other areas. Sometimes, a person will have more than one diagnosis. Thinking about neurodevelopmental conditions as distinct categories makes diagnosis easier. However, this is an overly simple way of defining DLD, and likely other neurodevelopmental conditions as well. It's important for speech-language professionals to be aware of the spectral nature of DLD. That way, they might improve diagnosis and gain a richer understanding of the needs of persons with DLD. What do the findings mean for people with DLD? People with DLD have strengths as well as weaknesses. People with DLD are individuals. The strengths and weaknesses of one person will be different than another. People with DLD often have problems that extend beyond language. Sometimes they even have more than one diagnosis. For example, they might be diagnosed first with DLD and later with dyslexia. This does not mean that the first diagnosis was incorrect. DLD is a neurodevelopmental condition. People with DLD face some of the same challenges as others who are neurodiverse. You can embrace neurodiversity and seek a diagnosis and help for DLD. find out more. You can read this whole paper for free by following the link. Thank you for reading this research. Contact us with questions or feedback.